Welcome back. Now it's time for us to get into some stories in our community focused segments. Now, there's a very unfortunate story, something that happened yesterday, and some of you may have seen footage of it on social media and all of that. The Kejetia market, modern Kejetia market, has been gutted by fire. We saw, a massive inferno blazing with the billowing smoke and all of that. We have a report for you by our colleague, Edward Opon-Mafo. Let's take a look at this report. We'll come back and we'll ask some few questions and talk to Edward as well.
Traders here at the Kumasi City market, popularly known as the New Kejetia market, are counting their losses. That's because of a fire outbreak that happened around 4 p.m. on Wednesday evening. When it stands that the first floor and the second floor are the parts that have been really affected. And in fact, fire officers, officers from the National Disaster Management Organization, and some police officers are around here putting their resources together to bring the situation under control. We're here to find out from the eyewitnesses on what really happened.
Started here, right on this floor. I was in my shop when people started calling me, there's fire, there's fire, there's fire. Mr. Okoro, there's fire, there's fire. Because they know I'm a leader here. So they first called at my shop. So I just came out. Truly, I saw that the fire was coming from the shop, it was coming from shop number 2. So I immediately called the MD of the facility, that Mr. Kofi. He also called the fire servicemen. So immediately we tried to use the hose here to quench the fire, but we couldn't because there wasn't any water. Unless until the firemen arrived here, they opened the fire, they opened the tenders, so we were able to use the water to start quenching the fire. That's how it started.
And so what are some of the items that have been destroyed?
Well, according to reports I got, the woman was selling solutions and parazone. As for the goods, people have lost so many goods here. I can't quantify the amount because about over 120 shops have been affected. So we can't quantify.
What are the items that they were selling in these shops?
People were selling, we have plastic there. We have toys. There are so many hardwares, padlocks and so many others. And people were selling so many items. There are money. Even there were shoes and other items being sold there. So many items is being sold over there. So we have lost about, I can't quantify now, unless we check everything.
Timi wo no mo frɛ sɛ eja to shop ba ko mu ye nyina ye so mrika mu bai ye bai no na omo kyerɛ sɛ nipa ne ton carbad na sɛ no wo kyitiro sɛ no wo ye de onija no eto mu enti na instead sɛ nka bia ye beru ahye na ye dum hɔ no mo de no on sɛ bi ba bia na ma bebre wo no bibi sa ba ye enti ani ba ye ho so no na saa ne ma ne enti no solution ene tina ne saa ne ma no on sɛ bi ho a petrol wo mu ene sa enti na afadwa no on sɛ Kejetia adwa no ya ntimi anya no commodity different items and ya mix up so eti eba ye entomafo bi wo mu a wo mo ne ma ahye materials fo wo mu t-shirts ene saa ne ma no efrafra ne ma bebrebe ene wo mo ho aka hardwares ene saa ne ma ni nyina no eka ho na wo mo ho aka eti ne ye fa saa kwan yi so na wo mo ho aka no ya mo hyeden.
The leadership of the Federation of the Kumasi Traders is worried about this situation, but they are asking one question: if indeed the insurance has been paid.
We had a call, we had to rush there. It was in a particular shop. One of our traders, a woman, the shop. It was in the shop that the market started. But unfortunately for us, the men around tried to use the water hose around to quench the fire. But unfortunately for us, there was no flow of water in the water hose.
So what really happened and how did they escalate?
Well, within the area that the fire started, they sell products like carbide, combustible things. So because it started within that shop, they sell glues, solution, carbide, and the likes. So it turned out that it was uncontrollable for us. We called the internal fire servicemen. They came, they called for reinforcement, but as I speak to you right now, though the fire has subsided, but they have not been able to put off the fire.
So now what are you doing as traders, those who have been affected? You are their leader. What's the way forward?
Well, as we know, in the heat of this event, we cannot say this is what we intend doing. So for now, we don't know the number of shops, but in our estimation, it's more than 120 shops. But as to the cost of the wares that have been destroyed, we cannot quantify it right now. But we know that on our part, as part of the service charges that we pay, there's a component of insurance. They tell us that they've insured the facility of which they levy the traders. So we are still in the heat of it. We are waiting that maybe by tomorrow morning, we will come with the management and the fire service personnel. We will do inventory of the goods that have been destroyed. Then on, we will know what to do next. But as we speak right now, a lot of shops, a lot of traders have lost huge sums of money.
But with the issue of insurance, do you know for a fact that the insurance has been settled for you?
It is a bigger issue. It is a bigger issue. As I speak to you right now, I cannot confirm nor deny whether that the insurance has been renewed. But we know for sure that as at November 10, 2021 till the end of February, we knew that insurance had not been renewed. We knew that, but in between the end of February to date, we don't know for sure whether they've, but we know on, we didn't want to speculate, but we doubt whether that insurance component have been renewed. But one unfortunate thing is we tried using the fire hose where we could have used the immediate water from there. There was no flow of water. Initially, there was no flow of water. So that even aggravated the fire to extend to other shops.
All right, so there you have a report by our colleague Edward Opon-Mafo. We'll be speaking to him shortly, but before we do that, Chris, what are some of your takeaways from the report that you've seen so far?
I feel like market fires are not new occurrences, but the question is, since we know they are not new occurrences and they keep happening year to year, what are we doing differently?
Yeah.
And I don't see anything that we are doing differently, because it's either we are waiting to quench the fire ourselves, or we're waiting to call the fire service. Like they tried, but there was no water.
Yeah.
There was no water, so you can't even blame them for that. But the question is, we are always, we always want to be the ones to have the title. We have the biggest market in West Africa. We have an ultra-modern market, but no ultra-modern facilities to fight emergencies.
Yeah.
Like you said off camera.
So
where are the extinguishers?
So every modern facility, especially of a market this size,
Exactly.
number one, you're supposed to have sprinklers in place. Where are there sprinklers? Did they go off? Right? You're supposed to have extinguishers signed off by the Ghana National Fire Service and checked regularly to make sure that your extinguishers have not expired. Do the attendants, first of all, do the shops have the fire extinguishers? Do the attendants in the shops know how to use the fire extinguishers? Why is there the obsession or the concentration on a water hose that has no water? What happened to fire extinguishers? That's the point of a fire extinguisher. So do the shops have them? These are questions that we'll be asking shortly. But let's take a look at this other report where our colleague spoke with a member of the Ghana National Fire Service.
4:30 p.m. we received a distress call, so we quickly had to dispatch the nearest fire station, which happens to be Metro Fire Station. They got here in 3 minutes' time. As soon as they got here, they realized the fire was well alight, so they quickly had to call for assistance. So we have to dispatch 5 more fire attendants in addition, with the TL for evacuation and rescue. So gradually we were able to manage it and finally extinguish it.
So were some people injured in the process?
So far, nobody. I don't have that information that there's a casualty.
And how many shops were affected?
Averagely, we've counted it's up around 30 to 33 shops that were affected.
And based on your assessment so far, what is the investigation revealing?
For now, most of the time, we don't want to speculate. So I wouldn't want to say anything about investigation, but just to inform you that investigation is underway. We started as soon as we arrived here. So when we are done with it, we'll let you know.
But with the traders here, what will be your advice to them?
Just like we've been educating them every now and then, as soon as there's any incident, they should call. If I tell you that even this fire incident, the call came from Accra, from our national headquarters, before we were able to dispatch. No, we are just here, and we've been telling them about our numbers, we've been educating them every now and then, but that is it. So most of the time, I always tell them about the triangle of combustion, that we should always try and separate the heat and the ignition sources from the combustible and the inflammable liquids. Because I learned where it started from. They deal in these flammable liquids and these highly combustible materials. So when it happens, they were trying to handle it and it got out of hands before they called. That is why it happened this way.
All right, so Edward there was speaking with ACF 01 Henry Jiwa of the Ashanti Regional Fire Command. Now, there's so many pieces to this that are a little upsetting to think about how much investment we've made into, some of you may have heard me say this before. We are very big on superstructures, but we are completely terrible and useless when it comes to the nitty-gritties to make sure that the superstructure investment, was worth it. We're very, very big on superstructures. Right, let's talk to our colleague, Edward Opoma. Edward, good morning.
Good morning, David.
How are you doing this morning?
Yeah, David, so far we are great, but just a sad news. So those traders who are affected, they are not really excited. In fact, they are very sad about what has happened, and we are still counting their losses.
Now, how extensive was the inferno? What size of the market got burnt?
So, David, what we've gathered so far, yesterday when I had an interview with the Ashanti Regional Fire Commander, he indicated that as at the time, they had counted up to about 33 shops, but that time they were still not able to really quantify the extent of damage. And so they are still here. In fact, they are back here now and trying to really assess it further. And I must also say that this facility has been shut down for some time. What we have told is that after the assessment, and if everything goes on well, they may open it by 12 noon. And so now traders are just hanging around. It's just the leadership of the traders and some officials, that's from the National Fire Service, those from NADMO, and some police officers who are allowed inside. And the police officers in particular are here to ensure that people do not take advantage of it. That's those who are engaging in petty theft and other stuff. They do not take advantage of the situation. But the fire service officials are here at the moment, still trying to really quantify it. We know some government officials are expected to be here. We're told the regional minister will be here very soon, and they also liaise with the mayor of Kumasi, Samuel Pan, who happens to be the board chair of this facility. So they are all looking at this issue to really assess the extent of damage, and then they know what to do next. But for the traders, they're just around standing helplessly because they feel they have lost a lot. And some of them are saying that this is avoidable because if they had put in place some adequate measures, these things wouldn't have escalated to the level that it got to. And David, this facility, in fact, according to the traders, I said that's the biggest in West Africa because it has over 7,200 shops. And so there are a lot of people. There's that when with the intervention of the officers from the Ghana National Fire Service, they were able to curtail its spread to an extent, and so it didn't really spread to some other portions, and others are secured for now. But I feel that with those who are affected, if some kind of proactive measures had been put in place, this wouldn't have happened. And in the earlier interviews, we're also talking about the fact that they are worried about the insurance. For now, they are saying they have the information. The traders are saying they have information that the insurance has not been renewed, and so it's a major worry. As if indeed it has not been renewed, then they may actually not get much from it. Already, they have been pursuing legal cases. That's the issue of the flooding. Some of the traders whose works have been destroyed because of flooding, and the other issues that have been coming up here. They are pursuing some of these cases in court, and they want the management of the facility to compensate them. That has not been done yet, and this is another case. And so they are saying, well, it's one too many, and so some kind of drastic decision has to be taken, David.
Yeah. Now, Edward, so there's a number of questions that come to mind when I think about the fire. And I think about the fact that, first of all, last year we had quite a number of fires in Kumasi and in the Ashanti region as a whole. Quite a number of fires. Yes, the first one that comes to mind, the shops that were gutted by fire, the shop where the fire started, were there fire extinguishers in place? Does the KJTL market have a policy for each shop to have an extinguisher? How does that system for the Ghana Fire Service that is supposed to be in place, is that in place at the market? Do you know?
So far, the traders, particularly those who are affected that we have spoken to, they are saying that they were relying heavily on the water hose. They said the assurance that they were given was that in case there's a fire outbreak, they should use the water hose. But once the incident happened and they tried using, they realized there was no water, and so virtually there was very little they could do. So they were trying other means of trying to bring it under control, but it got out of hand. And so by the time officials from the Ghana National Fire Service got here, some of these people had been affected already. And even as they were trying to control it from spreading to other areas, it was intensifying. And so that's it. So they feel that the necessary things have not been put in place. The only thing that they can talk about is the water hose.
Right.
So when you say water hose, you're referring to the fire hydrants, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So okay, let's talk about some other things here. So when you say it's about 43 shops that were burnt, right? About 43 shops.
As of the time, commander indicated that 43, they had counted 43.
Okay.
So we are yet to really get the full assessment to know the number of shops that have been affected. So he said it was 30 to 33 at the time. That's last night when we were speaking to him.
30 to 33. Edward. Hello, Edward. Okay, seems. Hello, Edward. Yeah, it seems you're having a little bit of a challenge. Edward, can you hear me?
David?
Yes. No, so Edward, I wanted to just confirm. Are you saying?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Are you saying 33 or 43?
33, so 33.
Okay, 33. Okay, so that's less than 1% of the shops in the place.
Yes, from what that's the initial assessment that they did last night. And
okay.
So, there are over 7,000 shops. So
yeah.
33.
Yeah. No, that's less than 1%. Yeah.
But
by far.
The officers are saying that they are yet to conduct the extensive one, and so they are still around to really assess it, to know the extent of it by this morning up to somewhere around midday. That's when they'll be able to give us the updated figure.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that we will go to talk to somebody from the fire service because I have questions that I think that when we build commercial spaces, there are rules and regulations that are supposed to guide us in the construction of these spaces. I'm asking myself, where's the sprinkler system? Or is that not something that we operate in Ghana? you know, because these are automatic systems that come into play. They don't depend on human intervention. You know, I don't know if I'm wrong, because I know there are some buildings in Ghana that have the sprinkler system. So why a market of this size, you know, with such a huge investment, wouldn't have such a thing? And then I'm also struggling to understand why the dependence on the fire hydrant alone seems to have been the thing. Because what happened to all the extinguishers that should have been in every shop?
All right, so David, so far that's the situation, and the traders. In fact, I remember some time ago we came here to conduct some investigations. That we came around to conduct some interviews, and the management of this facility assured that indeed this facility is secure, and so once there's a fire outbreak, it will be able to withstand based on the other things that they have put in place.
Yeah.
But now this happened, it has been put to test. It looks like the facility has failed.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I tried speaking to the manager of this facility, where he declined. He says that they are still engaging with relevant stakeholders, putting other things in place, and based on that, they will also come up with their response. So for now, they don't want to come up with any response from their end.
All right, thank you very much, Edward, for that update. That's very helpful. Thank you for speaking to us this morning. All right, so we've been speaking with our colleague, the Bureau Chief of the Middle Belt for Citi FM and Citi TV, Edward Opon-Mafo. Yeah, Chris. So
that's a lot to process.
No, I'm just struggling with this because
it's actually a lot.
It just beats my imagination why we would spend in excess of 200 million, in excess of 250 million US dollars, right? And we will not install measures that, unless they've been installed but they've malfunctioned.
Well,
and then that one too, now I'm asking myself, where's the fire service in all this?
Well, yeah. I was even going to ask, how long did it even take the fire service to get there? And how long was had the fire burned for before they even got there?
Yeah.
That's what I really wanted to ask. But apart from that, the sprinkler system, maybe they might have felt it's too expensive for them. But yes, the water hoses and the hydrants, it seems like they were never tested.
Well, you see, you can test it, but the fire hydrant depends on water storage, right? So you have underground tanks usually that are fully loaded with water, ready to go whenever there's a fire, and then that's supposed to help. Now, when we get a fire service online, one of the things you hear them to discuss with them is the fact that it's not every fire that you even use water to fight.
True.
There are some fires that are chemical fires.
Exactly.
Right? And so even right here on Breakfast Daily, we've had fire service come in and take us through some, education to try and understand this very principle that not every fire should be tackled in the same way.
Exactly.
And there are different types of extinguishers as well, right? So if what they are saying, we're hearing the report is true, that the lady had carbide, in the store.
Yeah.
There's an approach. There's a way to treat that. There's a way to attack that. But it's not only the source of the fire. It's also the other things that have also caught fire. Right?
Exactly.
There are plastics. There's other things that are burning. Right? Cables, plastics, all kinds of things are burning. The longer you leave it, the worse it gets, right? And if you saw some of the footage, the billowing smoke just shows you how much was going on there. Howbeit, I must say that I'm quite impressed that it was actually contained to only 43 stores, which also suggests that the fire service probably got there, quite early, relative to what could have happened, because we could have heard of hundreds of stores.
True.
I mean, the kind of fire that we saw, it could easily have gotten 100 plus stores. To keep it down to 33, at least by initial assessments, I think that was it means the fire service got there and did a good job, but it will be good to hear from them. For me, mine is the preventive measures.
Yeah.
Mine is the preventive measures.
Especially after putting up such
That's the
a
thing.
building.
You spend so much money, right? And I'm asking myself, what after spending so much money, the little extra that you will to safeguard the property, what's up with that?
That's the one we always miss.
Do you see? And then also, let's talk to the traders, right?
Yes,
And I want to
yes,
address the
yes,
traders.
yes.
When you have rented a shop,
Paid for it.
paid your rent, paid your insurance, and all those things, you can't just go to sleep. Yes, you are relying on the duty bearers,
Yeah, the
those in
managers
charge of the
place, yeah.
market managers, the district, the fire service, to do what they must do, right? But I also think that, especially when people are carrying things that are explosive material, like carbide, you should have 2-3 extinguishers on hand.
On hand.
Do you see what I'm saying?
True.
And then what sort of analysis or assessment goes into assigning people stores?
Yes.
And making sure that, okay, so this thing that you're selling in your store, you need to have these things as backup protection, in case of anything else. And actually, the managers of the store make sure that before we rent this store out to you to sell this particular thing that you're selling, Ghana Fire Service must come and certify that you are okay to sell this here and that you can handle your extinguishers, whatever, in case there's a fire.
True. Because I'm also wondering if those selling maybe those explosive stuffs have their own, segment or
the area of the market
area
that they
in the
are.
market. You understand? Because I think that would be good.
Well, that makes sense, to actually separate them from from others and don't just mix and match. It's
Exactly,
like
because
people can be anywhere
earlier
at
on
all.
in the video, like the guy that represented the people in the market said, even toys were burning.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, does everybody just sit together in the market, or like they're divided into segments?
Well, if you know
maybe
what the
explosives
new KJT market looks like, it's very orderly and very organized.
Yeah.
Right. So, for me, the question then comes to market management.
True.
Right. Where are people who, if you're going to permit people to sell explosives and to sell things like carbide, and mind you, things like carbide are used every week, every weekend in Kumasi.
Every time.
Okay, they are used to fire the muskets and all that during funerals. And funerals, there's no place in Ghana that there's more funerals than in Ashanti region. Do you understand? So it's a big market, it's a big product, to be, to sell. So my thing is, when we take these decisions, are we thinking 360? Everything. Think about everything. Safety of the shop of origin, where everything is coming out of. What about the neighbors?
Yes.
Because if I'm next to somebody selling carbide, I want to know that you have an extinguisher. And me too, I'll have one. Do you see? So if you're not thinking about that, then there's something that's gonna miss. And so when Ghana Fire Service says that they are doing education, I'm also wondering what sort of education you've done. Do you understand? Right. Yes. Because when you say you're doing education, what sort of education have you done that the person who, and I'm not saying they don't have fire extinguisher, but I'm just saying that if a shop selling explosives does not have fire extinguishers, how are they operating without a fire extinguisher? And then even if there's one nicely positioned on the wall there, do they know how to use it? Does the shop assistant, the young lady that is in the shop,
know how to use
selling carbide, and I'm hypothetically gesticulating here, right? Selling carbide to the public, does she know how to operate that thing in case there's a fire in this place? For me, these are the questions that come to mind. Do you see that thing? Because this is what we do to ourselves. We will act surprised that there's a fire. we will act surprised.
No, but we can't keep acting surprised because it's an occurrence that happens every time, every year. So we can't keep acting surprised. That's the thing.
I just think that we need to do better. Listen, the Ghana Fire Service, if anybody from the Ghana Fire Service is watching this, we need some answers. Market managers of the KJTL market, we need answers. The people that have lost their products need answers.
Exactly.
Right? You're managing a market of 7,000 plus shops. We honestly can't say that we're depending on a fire hydrant. Because in the whole conversation that we had, the report that we had, and even talking to Edward, there doesn't even seem as though there were multiple hydrants.
No, it's just like
it was just the one hose
that they could see.
That they, it's like, oh, in case there's a fire, use the fire hose.
Exactly.
Go here, use the fire hose.
And then you go, there's no water.
Right? And whose responsibility is to make sure that the water is in there every day? Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like negligence of duty, dereliction of duty by different people at different points. We can't act surprised that there's a fire. No. Things don't just happen out of a vacuum. Things happen because step 1 has been missed, step 2 has been missed, step 3 has been missed, and because we've been missing steps and ignoring them, a fire happens. And millions of cities are lost. But it's not a surprise or a shock. No, it mustn't be. Do you understand? We are far too intelligent and far too exposed as a modern society to act this way. And so now we have to ask the question of those who are responsible. What were you doing? Did you do what you needed to do? Did you do the right things? If somebody says, oh, I don't want to buy an extinguisher, you cannot be in the market.
You can't be in the market, true.
Clear your shop out, we'll rent it to somebody else. You cannot be in this market. And if the market managers feel that there was no need for extinguishers in the separate shops, that's a problem. Because here we are. A few months ago, you claimed that this shop was fireproof, ostensibly fireproof. It's like, there'll be no problem, we're good. We have put everything in place, there will be no fire. Because there were fires in other places. And so the question came up that this market, if a fire happens, will we be okay? So, we've got everything in place, we put everything in place, there will be no issue there. That's what Edward was referring to.
I guess they were depending on that hose.
The hose that has no water.
Yeah, the hose that has no water. And it's baffling because I feel like nobody checks it.
You see?
Yeah.
So again, it's the fire service. What work have you done? And look, listen, I'm not a fireman, but we've had fire service come to Citi Breakfast Daily for at least 3-4 years running. You've been coming to give us updates and education. The last time I think was, ADO2, ADO1, Kingsley was here, to speak to us just a couple of months ago, right? And for me, people need to give us answers.
I think it's the facility managers or the market managers that were actually supposed to put that visit together, especially for the fact that they know that, okay, we manage this market, so it's important for the fire service to come. Because I don't think the fire service can just wake up and say, okay, we're just going to give you education. They need to be invited. So yes, all fingers are now pointing to the market managers. And I think they deserve these fingers pointing to them.
It's just terrible. It's just terrible. So anyway, when the fires happen, what do? Fire service will write a report, and then what happens? Does the regional, minister take it upon himself to assess the report, to analyze the report, to then put things in place? Because reports, you see, we are very good at writing documents and shelving them.
True.
Yeah, we write the documents and then we shelve them. We are advised by technical experts and then politicians shelve them. We've been doing this for years. Advice by technical experts and then politicians and duty bearers shelve the things. Because of the lots, I don't know, dozens of fires that we had last year, right? Which of them has had its report assessed and implemented, the recommendations from the reports recommended? I would like to know. You know, if we get somebody from the Ashanti Regional Fire Service, that would be really fantastic, because at least we can find out, number one, did they write a report on all the fires that, because they were there, you know, to quench all those different fires that took place in Ashanti region? Did they write reports? Who did they hand the reports to? Then we want to find out if anything was done subsequent to the reports being submitted. You see? Yeah, and this is where we find ourselves.